America is home to 33 million small businesses, the beating heart of communities across the country.
And proof that the American dream is still alive.
This is a show about those dreamers and doers and the communities they serve.
Their real life stories.
Their struggles and successes.
Their grit, determination, and passion.
And the people who fight
to keep their American dream alive.
I'm Alfredo Ortiz.
I'm Elaine Parker.
And it's time for another episode of Main Street Matters,
America's small business megaphone.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Main Street Matters, America's small business megaphone. I'm Elaine Parker, the president of the Job Creators Network Foundation. America's education system is at a crossroads. While other countries are racing ahead with innovation, our students are still trying to recover from shutdowns, bureaucracy, and declining standards. Joining us once again today to discuss this and more is America First Policy Institute's Chair of Education Opportunity, Erika Donalds. Erika, welcome back.
Oh, so good to be with you, Elaine.
Well, I was looking forward to talking to you today because I've been dabbling in AI and trying to learn it and take some online, here's how you get better at it. And I'm having a fun time with it. I guess I know how my parents and grandparents felt as technology kind of passed them by. And so I don't want that to happen. So I'm having fun with it. But you have said that AI can be revolutionary for education when it's used wisely. Tell me what wisely means.
Well, a lot of people like you are excited about the possibility of AI, but worried about the pitfalls as well. And we all hear horror stories, horrible things happening where chatbots are telling students how to kill themselves or harm themselves. But in education, with the right guardrails, with filters applied, with ensuring that only core subject areas and not social emotional learning are being taught, AI can actually hyper-personalize learning to the point where it is explaining things to a student in the way that that student understands best, not wasting time trying to figure out how is this student going to learn this concept, but based on how a student learned previously, that AI is presenting the information in a way that the machine learning knows the student's going to be able to take that information in and master it right away.
So the way a student learns, some of us learn auditory, some of us learn by writing. What about special needs? A special needs child, an autistic child. Is that applied there too?
Absolutely. It's going to be incredible and already is working really well in districts that are testing out these programs, especially for students with special needs. In identifying the gaps that those students have, there's a really cool program called Amira, for example. And Amira is a reading program, and it has a character on there. The student will read a passage from the screen, and Amira will identify where that student went wrong and has a myriad of ways that it can present the concept back to the student in a way that the student's going to grasp the concept. And then the next time the student gets something wrong, doesn't read a word correctly, let's say, Amira knows I tried these different ways to present that concept last time. This is the one that worked, tries it again, and that student gets the information. Not only that, but the student, the special needs student in this example perhaps, can ask questions and ask things to be presented in a different way if they're not understanding the concept. And these teachers, God bless them, they might have 25 kids in a class, 10 of whom have individual education plans, IEPs. It's so difficult for a teacher to be able to present information individualized for all of those students in a given class period. But AI can actually extend the teacher to the point where that AI is using those teachers' lessons and the teacher's curriculum and what the teacher's trying to present, but being able to present it in the ways that those students are going to understand and master it quickly.
So how does it work? Walk me through sort of the visually how that would look. There's a teacher going through a lesson plan, 25 kids are in the classroom, they're on their laptops. Is AI listening to what the teacher is saying?
I saw a presentation from a teacher. In fact, it was at a Charter Schools USA conference, and we were blown away. This teacher said that they created an agent, and that means that they're basically creating what's called a small language model. So ChatGPT and Gemini, these are large language models. When you ask it a question, it's going to the entirety of the internet to get an answer to that question. It's filtering through what's true, what's not true. When you create a small language model, you are taking a subset of trusted information. A small language model, for example, could be all of the writings of our founding fathers, the Federalist Papers, and where students could ask questions, but it's only going to pull from that information in the small language model. So in this case, you might have a small language model like this teacher of all of his lesson plans, his lecture, his notes, his PowerPoints. Maybe he even creates a recording of the lectures that he's putting in there. And he creates a version of himself called an agent that the students can take home with them. And when they're doing their homework and they ask a question, that agent is pulling only from that information that the teacher uploaded into that small language model. So it's a trusted subset of information specific to whatever the teacher wants to deliver to that student. And if done well, the AI, if it doesn't have the answer in that subset of information or can't infer it, they'll say, I can't give you that answer. It's not here. It's not pulling from Reddit, where, some of these studies have said a lot of AI comes from. It's just pulling from the trusted information that the teacher puts in.
I think that's fascinating. Where are you seeing the most advancements in terms of new teaching techniques like this? Are public schools utilizing this? Is it more alternative education institutions?
I believe it's really kind of one-off teachers that are getting passionate about this technology and leading the way, like this teacher. I know, but charter schools certainly are known for being a bit more innovative and risk-taking and getting out there ahead of some of the innovative concepts, including AI. But I'm also on the task force for Florida for AI in education. And half of our school districts are also participating in that task force, bringing best practices and some of the things that they're doing with their teachers and with the security around AI for their students and for their parents. And they're leading the way. And so it's industry partners, it's schools of choice, it's individual teachers, software developers as well. But people who really care about meeting the needs of students and recognize that this technology can do wonders for that hyper-personalization and individualizing the learning. I think seeing that potential has really excited a lot of people in a diverse network of educators, whether that's public or private or, charter, all types of school environments.
And you've pointed to the school, Alpha School in Texas, achieving the top 2% test scores. Tell us about that, and what should policymakers take from that success?
Yeah, that's really caught a lot of people's attention, certainly mine. And I was able to visit the Alpha School in Austin along with Secretary McMahon and do a roundtable to see what they're doing, hear from their students. It was amazing. And I think there are a lot of things to be learned there. The Alpha School is also known as the 2-hour school, not because the students only go for 2 hours, but their core courses are completed in 2 hours a day. Because of that hyper-personalization and self-paced learning, students can get through mastery of information, not only just in 2 hours a day, but also on average 2 years of learning in a single school year. So that's how efficient AI-driven teaching and learning can be. Now, the rest of the school day at Alpha School is spent on different project-based learning, group projects, other electives. These kids are building businesses. So they're learning the soft skills outside of those core courses. They're getting all the core courses and skills and standards that they need. but then they're able to spend the other 6 hours on things that are interesting to them, that are teaching them teamwork, they're teaching them communication, soft skills, how to build a business, all these amazing things. So it's a really incredible school. They're also working with a lot of districts, distributing their technology in district classrooms to use what they have built in traditional learning environments.
You mentioned you're on the task force in Florida for AI in education. What types of safeguards do they have in place to protect students who are using AI in classes? Or is that a role that's happening, somewhere else? Is it coming from the AI companies themselves?
It's a combination, and I applaud these districts that are stepping out into this realm. They're very concerned with making sure that students' data is protected and that they're not harmed or led astray by these AI tools. What I'm seeing is it's an extension of their existing policies. So there are already softwares in place in districts across the country that'll flag keywords that are of concern if you do use Google and they're searching for a way to harm themselves. For example, an alert goes out, this shuts down, a teacher's alerted, the administration's alerted. So the same thing is applied to any AI software that they're using. Everyone is pretty much in agreement. You don't want large language models used in school, the traditional chat GPT. You're not going to have access to that. But a lot of these, like Google Gemini, has a student version that is already built in filters to ensure that they're not accessing inappropriate information. In addition to that, a lot of schools are saying, we're only going to use specialized programs that are teaching core subject areas, not open information and search capabilities like even a Gemini for Students would be. But lots of software companies are out there solving for this issue. One of the main things too is protecting student data. Again, this is an extension of their existing policies. They don't just allow data to go out into the internet, into the ether, private student data. In this case, it is also, if you're using AI, making sure that when a student puts information in, if it's a question or something about themselves, that data is not leaving the privacy of that student's PC and that district's network.
Okay, because that is a huge issue. So is it closed AI? I mean, most of us using ChatGPT, it's open AI. So this is a version specific to classrooms, to the education system that sounds like it's even more closed than closed AI.
That's right. And sometimes it's called a walled garden. Nothing is allowed outside of that, walled garden, if you will, that the students are allowed to work within. Nothing gets in except the trusted information that you want in, and nothing gets out as far as student privacy and student data. So that's what these software firms are building for schools, and what schools and districts themselves are setting up around their AI softwares.
Okay. Optima Academy Online uses VR and AI. What are students experiencing there that they can't get on Zoom?
Well, Optima Academy Online is the world's first virtual reality school. We've been in existence for 4 years now and available across the country. In fact,
and I should say that's your school. I apologize for that. I should say that's your school.
We created it, during COVID when everyone had to go online, and I partnered with who became my co-founder, Adam Manguera, who has such expertise in VR and is an educator, and built this incredible classically based program where students are in a VR headset when they're doing their live learning instead of on Zoom school. It's an online based school, but they're going to ancient Rome, they're going to the moon and Independence Hall as they are learning about these things. They're on the inside of a cell and they're able to, in 3 dimensions, put together the water cycle and sort of play God. These are things that kids don't forget when they're doing it in this immersive way. How we're using AI is through some of these small language models that I explained earlier. So you have Rosa Parks, for example, and all of the things that have been written about her or written by her things that she has said. And we load all of that information behind an avatar of Rosa Parks, which allows the student to interview her about her experience on the bus and thereafter. And so we're building all of these great historical characters based on their writings or things that have been written, again, those trusted sources of information behind the AI. And it allows students to really interact with these characters based on their own personalities and writings that we know from history. That, as you can imagine, can quickly move into having master teachers that students can interact with as they need a tutor or they're going home and they need help with something. Some students can't attend live classes even in VR, and they need to have recordings, which is immersive recording is great. But if you have an immersive recording along with a master teacher with one of those small language models of trusted information that students can interact with, it really accelerates the experience for students who are learning online, are homeschooling, or just need that flexibility for whatever reason.
I read about the AI filling this void of tutors. I mean, my daughter struggled with math all the way through, and it just never clicked for her, no matter what tutor I got her or what teacher she was with or what level she was in. It just didn't click. And we keep hearing about AI replacing all of these jobs, right up to nurses and doctors. And I don't know if that's true, because I don't know that I would want to talk to AI about my personal medical situation as much as I would want to hear someone empathize with me. But could you see this taking over the classroom, or are we going to maintain teachers in the classroom using AI as an assistant, as I see it being powerful that way?
Yeah, I certainly don't think that AI can replace a teacher. I believe in, teachers and delivering the good, true, and beautiful of the history of our country, of classic literature and the great books. And I just don't believe that AI will ever be able to deliver that human heart and soul and beauty that a teacher can. But it can certainly grade papers and save the teacher a lot of time and energy on that first layer of, grammar checking. I think it definitely is going to make teachers more efficient. Now, I will say there are not enough tutors in the world to get our students up to speed in this country. I've tried to hire tutors. Trust me, they just aren't out there en masse in the manner in which we need them. And so we're having to settle already for group tutoring, for kids not getting enough frequency of tutoring than they really need. So this absolutely will fill the gap in tutoring that we have in this country. It's not taking jobs away. It's filling a gap where we don't have the workers to fill those gaps. And so I definitely see a place where teachers are able to deliver the humanity of teaching that only they can do, while AI makes them so much more efficient and allows students to master information. Our curriculum and standards have been watered down for decades. Imagine if because we're able to use AI for all the efficiencies of education and tutoring, that we can actually accelerate our standards to where we're back at the top when it comes to the rigor of a K-12 education in America. That's what we should be thinking about, how this can actually make America smarter overall, because it makes our teachers more efficient and our kids can learn more faster. It doesn't mean they're going to get out of school earlier. We're just going to teach them more in K-12, right?
Don't say that around the kids. They're not going to get out earlier.
Well, I don't know about you, but my kids don't like wasting time in school. They get so frustrated when they feel like they're waiting on other people, that, the teacher's grading papers today, so we're watching a movie. There's so much wasted time in our K-12 system. And I see this as just making it so much more efficient for teachers to be able to do the things that only they can do and allow technology to fill those gaps.
Talking about filling gaps, we saw a lot of this happen during COVID, this big awakening from parents across the country because of these schools being shut down. You've said that families were held hostage during COVID with these closures. How do you see AI impacting the catch-up? Because we have said that the students that were, that fell behind, that we were going to have this lost generation. Do you see AI changing that now?
It can change it. Some of them, unfortunately, missed time in school that you can never get back. You can always learn new things, but you won't get another chance at kindergarten or first grade when your brain is developed at that certain stage. However, what AI can do is identify the gaps with specificity that students are missing. You might have a student in pre-algebra or algebra, and they're not getting a certain concept. And that teacher is trying to teach that concept to get them to get that particular concept at the pre-algebra algebra level. It will be very difficult for that teacher to identify that the concept that kid is actually missing is all the way back in first grade or second grade. But AI can help identify that gap going all the way back, instead of just what you might be able to see on the surface. Now, great teachers can do the same thing, but they can't do it at scale, right? They can't do it for 20 kids at a time that have these gaps from COVID, for example. And so I do believe that it will help identify and target the gaps that these kids have. A study just came out from University of San Diego, where 13% of college students at the University of San Diego could not do first grade math. 1 in 4 could not do third grade math. How did these students get a diploma and accepted to college, and they cannot do basic elementary math problems? Well, that's because it was impossible to identify those missing pieces from first, second, and third grade by the time you get to 11th and 12th grade. But why shouldn't we be doing that, right? We can use this technology for that purpose.
I think it's amazing what you're doing, and how AI is just how we're finding more and more ways to use AI in our daily lives, but also, I really hope that it can help some of these kids, help us identify those areas that these kids missed during COVID, because it's going to have an impact detrimentally on our economy, on our communities, on their lives personally. If we have this lost generation of kids who didn't get the information they needed and the learned skills that they needed during that time when COVID had shut down all of these schools across the country, it's just so sad.
Your audience probably knows some of these statistics where only 1 in 3 students in the United States of America are proficient in math and reading, just 1 in 3. And more than half of our students in America do not have access to a high quality teacher. So many people who are fighting against the use of AI in classrooms think that we're choosing between a great human teacher and a machine. Unfortunately, for a lot of families, that is not the choice. They have a choice between a teacher who has not been effective in teaching their children to read and do mathematics effectively, and a software program that has been able to get great results with students in those areas. So again, it's not trying to get rid of the teacher, but it is trying to supplement teaching that has just simply not been effective for American students and a lot of families. And I believe that a lot of families, when they do see these results, like they have seen with Alpha School, for example, they're going to want their students to have access to be able to master and be proficient at reading and math and have access to the American dream. That's what this is all ultimately about.
Wonderful. Well, tell everyone where they can find out more about you and America First Policy Institute and what you all are working on.
Well, you can follow me at Erika Donalds, Erika with a K, no C, at Erika Donalds on all social media platforms. And I like to keep you up to date on all the things that are happening and how you can get involved. You can find all of our policy work at America First Policy Institute at americafirstpolicy.com, americafirstpolicy.com. And of course, there's education work there, but all kinds of other America First issues that we work on as well.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Erika, and thank you all for taking the time to tune in to Main Street Matters. Main Street Matters is part of the Salem Podcast Network. New episodes debut every Wednesday and Friday. You can subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast from, and we will be back soon with another episode.